It is over. Tottenham Hotspur players drop to their knees. The substitutes spin onto the pitch, and the wild celebrations in the Tottenham Hotspur end. It is their first European trophy in 41 years, and Ange Postecoglou has delivered on his promise of silverware in his second season.
But yesterday, Tottenham sacked Ange Postecoglou. They did have a really poor league season. They finished 17th. They lost 22 times. But Postecoglou delivered Tottenham's first trophy in 17 years with that 1-0 win over Manchester United in the Europa League final. Former Spurs defender Ramon Vega spoke to 5 Live Drive last night, and he seemed distraught with the decision to sack Postecoglou.
We've got already a major world moral crisis, and I think that crisis coming into the competitive world of sports. And I think football completely lost that now. You can't be a champion anymore. You can't be a gold medalist anymore. That's not enough. You're not respected anymore. The money is more important here. You can buy all the triumph, but you can't really be respected like an Olympic champion, or in this case, winning a trophy. And that's the really sad side about this decision, to be honest here. This is not an emotional side. This is really something in the sport I'm very concerned, and in principle in football. And what is inspiration for the future for all these young up-and-coming players or coaches? Is winning something not good enough anymore?
Well, we're joined by Spurs fan and YouTuber Chris Cowlin. Good morning, Chris.
Hi, Ellie. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. In the words of Big Ange, oh, mate, how are you feeling?
Do you know what? I think the decision is pretty harsh. I do understand it, but I'm a little bit disappointed the fact that he has been sacked, especially, a couple of weeks after delivering us that special night in Bilbao. Yes, we do get the 22 league defeats, which were very disappointing, but I would like to have seen a season 3. Of course, he gave that mic drop moment at the parade that I was at, and it was incredible. A couple of 100,000 Spurs fans there. And like you've mentioned, our first trophy in 17 years, our first European trophy in 41 years. He fast-tracked our way to the Champions League because, of course, we don't have a strong, strong depth in the squad to get a Champions League spot via the league. So he went all out to win the Europa League. And if you'd have said to anyone 2 years ago, in his first season he'll finish 5th, and in his second season he'll win a trophy for us after this such a long awaited time, and then he would deliver Champions League football, I think everyone would have absolutely accepted that and been very glad, especially the departure of Harry Kane as well. So I think overall he deserved that third season. We've run a lot of polls online and on YouTube, etc., and the majority of fans wanted him to stay. But football is very harsh sometimes. And, what I say now is what is next, because we've gone through so many different managers over recent years.
Yeah, I suppose you could say, well, that league position was shocking, and 22 league defeats is pretty poor. But then, you win something, you take that momentum and you take that feel-good factor into the following season.
Absolutely, and it could have been the start of something special. I know that the board do have that difficult decision because, week by week when you're losing that amount of Premier League games. But what I would say to the board is that whoever does come in now, they need a very good squad, a very strong squad, particularly now that we're playing Champions League next season. And, the club actually put out a statement yesterday and said that, we want to be fighting on all fronts. Realistically, looking at this squad, we can't fight on all fronts, and Ange Postecoglou put all the eggs in the basket of the Europa League. So we need to have a strong window regardless of who the manager is. But that is my big question now. What is next? Because, we're 7 days into the first part of the transfer window. Spurs haven't done any business yet. Our rivals are doing business, and it is all about making that, that squad stronger for next year, whoever does come in. But it does worry me, the fact that we are going through managers literally every 18 months.
Who do you think Daniel Levy's got in his mind? I mean, presumably you'd hopefully he's got a plan if he's made this big decision to sack Ange.
You would certainly hope so. Nothing is a given. But, a lot of the media reports out from very well-known journalists, reliable journalists, stating that Thomas Frank is being lined up. I think he's done a fantastic job for Brentford, but he doesn't have any Champions League experience. So that's going to be an interesting one. But as I keep saying, I just hope that Spurs do have a plan, a very quick decision is made. I hope that they do have someone lined up. I do hope that they are talking to someone, pretty much straight away, because we do need the enforcements in the transfer window. But like I said, I feel it is a hard decision on Postecoglou, but now we've got to move fast.
I mean, Daniel Levy, it's just the problem, I suppose, is that you've got somebody. He's got to attract somebody who is good enough for Champions League football. Has got that Champions League experience, as you say, that he's going to get on with. That is not going to question him too much. I mean, it almost feels like like he's searching for some holy grail that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I feel like when Postecoglou came in, not a lot of people were actually interested in the job. And you must look, because Mauricio Pochettino back in 2019, he took us to a Champions League final, having not spent a penny in 518 days in transfer windows. Then Jose Mourinho got sacked 6 days before a cup final. Antonio Conte went into a press conference, told a lot of home truths, then got sacked. Nuno Espirito Santo only lasted a couple of months, didn't get the time or the patience, and now Ange delivers us a trophy. So, and think, what would I have to achieve in order for me to be successful? Because, when someone's delivered our first trophy in all this time and then gets fired a couple of weeks later, a lot of people will be wondering about this job, I feel.
Chris, thank you very much indeed. Chris Cowlin, who is a massive Spurs fan, as you can gather, and also a YouTuber. So any thoughts on that, do let us know. And we'll speak more about Ange Postecoglou as we go through the programme this morning. Michael Brown joining us after 8 o'clock.
Now, we don't like to suggest there's ever a reason to turn off 5 Live. We don't ever. But Radio 3 have something which we think would be of interest to our listeners. Ellie, do you want to tell us a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely.